To me, Humboldt was always just tough, gritty runners that kicked butt because they worked hard. And, they weren't here for glamour. They were here to find out how good they could be. And I think a lot of them found out they were better than they thought they could be.
Humboldt State has a long, rich history of distance running prominence. In its heyday, the Lumberjacks were nationally renowned for their exceptional teams. They were always a potential threat in the national polls, and their teams were just studded with exceptional coaches and athletes. People like Gary Tuttle, Mark Conover, and Jim Hunt, just to name a few, were instrumental in putting the program on the map. For today's HSU Harriers, the goal remains largely the same: get the program back to a state of national relevancy. However, one thing was missing at the start of the year: a coach. So this past summer, the university hired Jamey Harris. Fresh off a successful coaching stint at UC Santa Cruz, Harris has jump-started a resurgence in distance running at Humboldt. In just 2 semesters of work, he has already seen individual increases. I had a chance to sit down with Jamey and talk about his start into running, his take on coaching, and his excitement for the state and future of Humboldt distance running. So without further ado, let's get started.
On your marks.
I, as a kid, was fast. I had a nickname in baseball of Wheels from being fast, and I was always like top of the class in the presidential fitness runs and things like that. And my parents, I was born in Eugene. My parents had lived there for several years, had been fans of track and cross country and marathons in kind of heyday of Oregon track when Prefontaine was around and all that. So they were, regulars at Hayward Field and worked an aid station at the 72 Olympic marathon trials. So, they were really into it and, kind of fans of the sport. And they kind of encouraged me to do things like all-comers meets as a kid growing up. And then when I was in high school and I was kind of over baseball, and Osgood Slaughters was kind of a big part of me being over baseball. It was just painful and less fun. And same with soccer. I turned to track and field in the spring of my sophomore year and pretty much immediately started having some success. When I was running in college, I think everything at Fresno was funneling me toward coaching. I had a really good relationship with my college coach, Red Estes, and I changed my major to kinesiology, exercise science. It was the closest I could come to majoring in running, and that was what I wanted to do. And I was always reading books and very, very interested in the physiology and the psychology of performance and anything I could learn to make myself better, and it was all sort of, pushing me toward coaching eventually. But learned a lot from Chris Fox, who he's at Syracuse now. Chris was an Auburn alum who had had some success there and had a school record or so, and an excellent coach, really passionate, a lifer in running. And I think I learned a lot, or had a lot of things that I had learned from previous coaches get sort of reaffirmed by what Chris was doing and his philosophy. And so that was a great experience. Scott called me as soon as he heard the news that I was available, basically, and it just turned out to be really good timing because he was planning to retire. And he said, hey, is this something you would be interested in doing? And it's like, absolutely. I know Jim Hunt. I know, a bunch of the kind of decorated alums from the 70s, 80s, and 90s from Humboldt. And, I knew some of the tradition and I had been up here and as a guest speaker at the camp and, seen the area. And so I knew it was someplace, it had kind of always been someplace that I had been interested in eventually ending up. In coaching, you can't always call your shots like that. So it was, it always sort of seemed like a dream, a little bit. And it just happened to work out pretty perfectly. I don't feel like there's anything magical about the training or anything like that, but I think, I've maybe come in with a new level of energy and enthusiasm, and just the fact that it's new has excited some people. So that's I think my impact, and what I could safely take credit for. The athletes we're gonna make progress anyway, and I don't know if they were going to make as much or less or more, or it's hard to say. But I think it's been fun, and I think, hopefully I've had a positive impact. I'm really excited about, the future of the program. I think this is such a uniquely awesome place in the world. And, to have stuck a university here and to have cross-country and track programs in this spot is a little magical. And so I hope that we can, kind of do a service to that, and do a service to the history and tradition of Humboldt distance. I think, we can take teams to nationals in cross country. I think we can, continue to keep qualifying more people to the national championships in track, start to score more points at our conference meet, be competitive, with everyone in our conference, and be a kind of perennial national championship qualifier, do a lot of damage to our all-time top 10 lists, and just become one of the best D2 distance programs in the nation year in and year out.